The Shaggy Jenkins Show.
We have to make Russia great again.
On the Pacifica Radio Network.
It's the Shaggy Jenkins Show on the Pacifica Radio Network. Welcome to it. Today we've got a lot of stuff to cover, including insanity from Fox News. Yeah, that's still going. Insanity from our president? Hey, why not? Insanity from the religious advisor to the president? Yeah, we'll throw that in. In other words, today's show will question your sanity. Before we get to all of that, brief introductions are in line. My name is Shaggy Jenkins. I'm a critical thinker, a host, a guy that's just kind of all around weird, left of center, but always centered in common sense, and found at my website, shaggyjenkins.com, or wherever fine social media is served at Shaggy Live. Joining me from his bunker somewhere in the great northeast of America, please welcome, he's one of the co-founders of FYI Nation, their program director and host of the show, some say. It's Thomas Reynolds.
Yes, I am in the formerly debunked Dick Cheney bunker, and all the bodies are buried down here.
I'd imagine it's rather warm, too, with all that natural gas.
Yes, it is. How'd you guess? It wasn't me for once.
Yeah, well, speaking of people that are full of hot gas, let's start off the show with Sean Hannity, shall we?
Oh, please. I love Sean Insanity.
Well, this is the thing. Mr. Hannity here lately has been going on a tear against everybody that's attacking the president. I mean, it's almost as if they're really good friends, and Sean has started to ignore all of reality and instead just back his buddy up. But serious journalist Sean Hannity wanted to come out the other night with a warning, Thomas, towards his conservative friends. What was he warning them about?
A lot, but mainly attacking the president and going against him in the wall, because Trump's still going to build that wall, and Mexico's going to pay for it.
Oh. Is that so? Because, I mean, it's like BS 030 on that clock, if you don't mind.
Well, every once in a while you got to get a good time in there. And I just think that the whole thing is funny at this point. If it weren't so serious, it'd be funny. But we're at an interesting incline in political speak. And the fact that Sean Insanity is so overqualified to defend this guy, because you don't have to be very qualified to defend him in the first place, is just crazy talk at this point.
It kind of is, because, see, this is the quote that I like, because he was trying to kind of convince people that Donald Trump was the right horse to back in this race, okay? He was the right horse to back, and here's how Hannity was going to prove it to us all. He said, quote, "Has he not shown he is a tenacious fighter when it comes to keeping his promises?" But didn't he promise to pay Stormy Daniels some six figures that never amounted to anything? I mean,
yeah.
I'm just going to throw this out there. It's kind of like, Sean, it depends on who you ask as to how timely the president is with that money, huh?
No, you're absolutely right, and this is a guy who never pays for anything if he can avoid it. And it's interesting that they have their campaign for 2020 as promises kept. And now you could, if you're a conservative and a good conservative, you know what to list and you know how to list it. And that's fine if you want to go up Bull Mountain. But,
Mm-hmm. It's
if you
a
don't
long way to Tipperary and the top of BS Mount. Look, here's the thing, though. When we're talking about people scaling the great mountain of bull feces, Hannity here kind of went with the approach of, look, the president, despite losing a hockey check loss, if you really think about it, to Pelosi in the standoff, the government shutdown ended, and everybody knows that Donald Trump caved. However, Hannity takes to the air Friday night after this massive caving of Trump and says, oh no, he still holds all the cards. What cards does the president really currently hold at this point?
They have to be imaginary because I'm not quite sure what cards he holds, because he gave the biggest thing to the Democrats in the Democratic Party, which was the shutdown. He had them by the cojones if he had just waited, but I really think LaGuardia closing down was the clinchpin to this. And if had not LaGuardia closed down, I think he would have been willing to wait longer, but it got rough, and it just showed how easily he's willing to cave.
The thing is when LaGuardia shuts down, that's kind of this president's backyard. So, I mean, do you really, at this point, doubt his motives for that being the tipping point?
Well, it had to be something. Now, I'm operating on two theories: that he caved because of that, or that he was doing it to block the Roger Stone media circus that was about to begin, and do some damage control in a different kind of way. So what if they're going to talk bad about you, at least have them talk bad about something that you could continually say is a witch hunt and there's no collusion, and have a regular line on that we all know and at this point objectively love, and as opposed to the shutdown, which he was really getting creamed over, because even Republicans don't really see the wall as a thing that will work.
Here's the thing about that wall, because Hannity, when he was trying to defend the president, goes, quote, "Don't let what is, I believe, a shift in strategy fool you." Okay, so what would that shifted strategy that Hannity says happening actually look like, Thomas Reynolds?
I'm not sure. I question there being any strategery in the first place. You have to go only to England to see what's going on with Brexit and Theresa May, where she had a strategery, and it was, we're not gonna back off this deal. It's either this or it's shut down, with the Brexit being a catastrophe. And then she went to Parliament and was like, well, let's back off what I had said and we'll give it all to you. And she's turning around and saying, well, I'm listening to you now. It's the same thing. The same nonsensical BS is happening in England with their Trump-in address, as opposed to what's happening here. There's no rhyme or reason to it.
Well, the thing is that Hannity says that he does know reasons. He goes, quote, "I don't have any doubt at all. The president is going to fight as hard, if not harder, for the money for that wall." Now, here's the thing. The last fight that he engaged in spent 35 days of our U.S. government in partial shutdown. That cost the United States government permanently, right now is what we're looking at, a figure of around $3 billion, and damaged the economy temporarily in excess of $11 billion. With just 3 weeks to go until there's a possible shutdown again, Hannity is trying to say, and I'm going to ask you if this is correct, Thomas Reynolds from FYI Nation and the show Some Say, today's correspondent, I'm going to ask you very carefully here, is Hannity kind of signaling that Trump intends to shut down the government again when the budget runs out in February?
Yes, because just like Theresa May, Trump-in address, we have two people who are okay with calamities, whether it be him doing the shutdown or her going to a hard Brexit, which will crush the economy of Great Britain. Neither one of them seem to care about the consequences, and they don't seem to understand what is truly going on with both parties, because you have the Democratic Party in this situation completely dog walking the President of the United States, and the Labor Party and the Conservative Party are dog walking Theresa May. And when you have both of them being dog walked, that's the only reason you call her Trump in a dress. So you have both calamities, and neither person in both examples care about the outcomes of them being calamities.
Can I just take a little break from the show and say that I have learned something very interesting about you, Thomas Reynolds. You're a fan of Cardi B, aren't you?
Oh, I totally am. Totally am.
Oh, okay, because I noticed you used the term dog walking. And, okay, I'm just going to throw this out there. Not a lot of people know what dog walking means. And when I actually explained the, well, I like to call Southern Hood version of what a dog walk is to my wife, well, she thought that Cardi B's comments back towards Tomi Lahren were a bit more mean than people talk. But when we talk about dog walking, for the uninitiated, Thomas, what do you mean?
Well, my version of it is probably a lot more cruel, but basically getting slapped in a way that rhymes with witch and walked all over. And to me, dog walking is trouncing a person. It's taking them out to the woodshed, and it's really showing them what they can't see in a very particular way. And both Theresa May and Donald Trump in the recent couple of hours have really gotten dog walked. And when even Ann Coulter is admitting she was a stupid girl, for Pete's sake, and for Ann Coulter to admit that takes a lot. And Sean Hannity is still defending him, which is weird. And so, by the way, so is Rush Limbaugh.
Can I just throw this out there? Like, when these people like Ann Coulter comes out and says something like that, she was a stupid girl, and all of a sudden the temperature drops like 40 degrees in Hawaii, I'm starting to see a correlation. I don't know how to tell you this, but somebody needs to warm her cold heart, because I am cold here in paradise. But the things that have chilled between people like Coulter and Trump, you know that they haven't chilled as much with somebody like Hannity, who at this point, he's almost got a vested interest in Trump's popularity, doesn't he?
Yeah, he absolutely does, because he talks to his base, and his base are his viewers. So you have to keep that in mind. And Sean Hannity will completely go off the rails, never, on Donald Trump, because he needs that viewership to keep buying my pillows. Just saying.
Yeah, that's going to be one of the few sponsors left, along with that sock slider thing, which is, okay, it's useful. I'm just going to be honest. Science is wonderful sometimes. So the thing is, though, is that Sean Hannity has been kind of guilty of doing another kind of dog walking. And I kind of want to bring up one of the people. He did his, what I would like to call, Westminster breast prance. The other night, he did one of those with Roger Stone, who I would like to say is pure pedigree. Ugh. But here's the thing. Because Sean Hannity's defense of the president has always kind of likened him to be like, oh, you guys don't know the real picture. You guys don't know the real picture. But when he interviewed Roger Stone, there wasn't really a way that he could spin this into a good fantasy, quote unquote, his version of the real picture, was there, Thomas?
No, and Roger Stone is one of these dudes who come out swinging hard, and they just get if there's a hole, they dig it. And he digs his own hole. And you don't believe, I mean, this is a guy who said that he was treated worse than Osama bin Laden. Now, for those who don't remember, Osama bin Laden was thrown into the sea and shot in the head. I don't see any gunshot wounds on Roger Stone, and I don't see any mistreatment. And Roger Stone is the one guy who said on the courthouse steps that he was treated really nicely by the FBI. So which is the real Roger Stone? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, because here's the thing. This Roger Stone that appeared on Hannity the other night kind of seems I want to say detached from reality. Is that a safe way of putting it?
That's a kind way of putting it.
Okay, because the detachment of Roger Stone is that he believes that all of this stuff is targeting him. And in a cryptic, okay, it wasn't cryptic warning. He basically said, "They got me, Trump, they're coming for you next." I mean, at what point does this kind of mafioso posturing that he's doing start to hinder his case?
Well, I think at the very beginning of it, but he's talking to an audience of one. You got to remember, Roger Stone is talking to the president. He knows this. Roger Stone is not a stupid man. He's abnormally crazy, yes, but he's not stupid. And he's talking to Trump, and the best way to talk to Trump is in his own language, which is mob speak, because if you're in the Goodfellas.
Yeah, and I mean, the thing is that Stone has always kind of been one of the good friends of ours, not quote-unquote friends of theirs, which, by the way, fascinating world of mafia, those two things mean the difference between life or death.
Yeah.
Yeah, go for it.
No, you're absolutely right, Shaggy. And the worst bit about this is all you have to do is to watch a movie like Goodfellas and see where these people come from, because the Goodfellas is as close to real life accuracy you're going to get with mob. And these people do not care about anything but themselves and what they can get out of you. It has no singular thing but them. Roger Stone only cares about him and his hide, and maybe, if we're lucky, his wife and dogs, if you believe his statements about them. And that is I mean, I still can't get Steve Martin out of my head when I look at Roger Stone after that great way he did the skit on SNL this past weekend. It was absolutely tremendous. And I just see Steve Martin now with Roger Stone.
Pardon me?
Yep, exactly.
Now, this is the thing, because, I mean, as long as we're talking about comical figures, Roger Stone has been comically inept, and I'm going to use those words together very accurately, I hope, comically inept in making himself not look like the villain. So now here we are, Thomas, he's having his day. He looks like the villain, and they're coming after him. Is this the spotlight that he intended to get from the very start?
50-50. He likes to be talked about even if it's in a negative light. If you watch the movie about him that's on Netflix, he basically says that. But this is also a guy who is very scared of his own shadow. So while he is probably really enjoying the limelight, so to speak, I don't think he is in anything but fear of the possible consequences. So that's why you see him double down on the rhetoric about the FBI and the treatment that he's gotten, because he really sees himself as a victim and being victimized. And that part is the most truthful part whenever he talks in any interview, whether hyperbole aside, he sees himself as a victim.
Oh, okay, because this is the thing. You could say that when it comes to Roger Stone, the victim, he loves that kind of I walk around with a bullseye, a.k.a. Tricky Dick's face on my back at all times. I walk around with this bullseye so that I could divert the slings and arrows from others. Now, he's always been very, very proactive when it comes to any sort of allegations coming out about Donald Trump. So, here's the thing. According to a Mueller witness in a story that was released out by the Washington Post, one Mueller witness indicates that, you know what happened on that famed evening around, I don't know, October 7th, 2016? You remember that as the day that the Billy Bush tape came out, remember?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the grab 'em by the, yeah, that tape. Here's an interesting timeline for you. Thomas, you've talked about Pizzagate before, right?
Sadly, yes.
Okay, where was Pizzagate born from?
Liz Crokin and Alex Jones, InfoWarriors.
And where did they get their sources of information?
QAnon and Roger Stone.
And QAnon got their information from WikiLeaks' release of emails from John Podesta.
Yes.
Did you know, here we go, little fun fact for you, October 7th, 2016 was at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the release of the infamous grab 'em by the, Donald Trump, Billy Bush interview behind the scenes tape. That happened at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. At around 5, I think it was like 5:10, 5:15, something like that, Eastern Standard Time p.m., WikiLeaks dropped a huge dump of emails from John Podesta, therefore starting the Pizzagate, the QAnon, and all of those conspiracy theories. Now, with Roger Stone and his ties to Julian Assange, is it any sort of stretch of the imagination, Thomas, to say that this event and that, let's call it, highly weirdly coincidental timing of those two events I just mentioned, is it any stretch of the imagination to picture Roger Stone actually wanting the Podesta emails to be released so that they take away from the Billy Bush scandal?
I would say it this way. I'm like Lieutenant Columbo, the old time TV police sergeant, or lieutenant rather, in the TV show Columbo. I don't believe in coincidences. So something went down. We may never know what, but something did in fact go down. And whether it was collusion with the Russians, collusion with Julian Assange, or just hoping and praying, it all happened in a very suspect way. And just like Columbo, a TV star, I don't believe in coincidences whatsoever when it comes to this.
Yeah, because this is the thing. You know, what's his name? Jeremy Corsi? Corsi, is that it?
Yeah, Jerome Corsi.
Jerome Corsi, yeah. Well, to my defense, he does look like a Jeremy.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, but here's the thing. And this is a call that Roger Stone kind of says, nah, that call never happened. But there was this day that Corsi remembers getting a call from Roger Stone and saying, we've got a problem with this WikiLeaks timing issue. They're going to release the Billy Bush thing. So that kind of implies, with that one little statement, that all the denial that Roger Stone is putting out there about his involvement with WikiLeaks gets kind of full of hot air, huh?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you know what? If I'm going to be a betting man on anybody who's going to turn on anybody, it's going to be Jerome Corsi over Roger Stone. Because playing victim is really good for these guys, but nobody believes they're a victim more than Jerome Corsi. Now, Roger Stone, as I said before, may believe he's a victim in all this, but Jerome Corsi will throw Roger Stone under the bus with everything that he didn't remember 5 minutes ago that he now remembers, to be able to help himself to get out of this. Because you can, in every interview, the difference between Roger Stone and Jerome Corsi these days is Jerome Corsi is scared. He is nervous. He doesn't want to spend a day in prison. So whether truthful or not, they're going to be able to find out through the text messages and the emails between these guys how legitimate. Now, I didn't say truthful, but legitimate whatever Jerome Corsi comes up with is against Roger Stone. So Roger, if I'm a betting man, Roger Stone should be very afraid of Jerome Corsi. And the fun fact about all this, the guy who brought them all together, Alex Jones. And it all ties in, and I've been covering this rat SOB since day one on my show, and now I'm glad I have good reason.
Yeah, this is the thing about all of this, because I'm just going to go ahead and give you a pop culture reference when I think about all of this. This reminds me a lot of The Prisoner of Azkaban, whereas, you know, Mueller, let's say, is going through and trying to find the absolute truth, and Corsi is Scabbards. Let's just throw that out there. He is the rat with the missing toe, and it's not going to be too long before he starts ratting on everyone around him. Thomas, am I wrong?
I think you're absolutely right. I think, again, I go back to the interviews. Even in the safe space of Ari Melber and MSNBC, where Ari is probably the sweetest guy that you could do an interview with. And even if he doesn't agree with you, he's still trying to be nice to you. He's scared, man. And Roger Stone is putting on an act. And so I believe the guy who's scared is going to be the one who goes overboard and does the dirty deed before Roger Stone would. Not to say he wouldn't, but I think Jerome Corsi is going to be the one to break first.
Well, I tell you what, speaking of breaks, you know what time it is, don't you?
Time for a break?
Yeah. We're going to have to take a break right here. But look, when we get back, I kind of want to talk about some slimy news having to do with Trump's spiritual advisor and what she thinks everybody should be doing with their personal finances. That and a little bit more is coming up ahead. So, Thomas, final thoughts on where we are with Scabbers here. How long on our countdown before Corsi breaks?
I give it another 72 hours, but, that's probably being kind.
Ooh, 72 hours. That is kind of kind. But the next 72 hours could see the country changed very drastically. How? Find out when we get back in just a sec, okay? It's the Shaggy Jenkins Show.
I don't remember how it started. Our back and forth. Victory. Fumble. Repeat. It always came back.
Okay, here we go, throw it!
Yeah. You probably don't remember what you told me.
That was perfect.
But I heard every word.
Nice.
Get involved, get informed. This is the Shaggy Jenkins Show on the Pacifica Radio Network.
It's the Shaggy Jenkins Show on the Pacifica Radio Network. Welcome back. If you've missed any part of this show and want to catch up on it, it's very easy to do. Just look for us. We're darn near everywhere on the internets. You can find us on your favorite podcasting services. You can find us over at our website, shaggyjenkins.com, or find me on social media at Shaggy Live. I really need to start posting again on social media more frequently. Joining me is a guy that is, I would say, active, almost overly active sometimes on social media. Please welcome the overly social but well-spoken. He's from FYI Nation, and the show, some say, is Thomas Reynolds. Welcome back.
Thanks, Shaggy. Yes, I have a problem, and I'm not afraid to admit it.
I like how you're like, I have problems, and I'm not afraid to admit it. It's like, yeah, but do you have to admit it to everybody on Instagram, Snapchat, IG, and you get my point.
That's the fun, though, man. That's the fun.
You know, I just as far as social media goes, I've not really learned how to do it properly. So every time I want to complain about something, I put it on Pinterest. I don't know how the internet works.
Clearly.
this is the thing. As long as we're talking about people that don't know how technology or the internet or, common sense works, I want you to lead me through the story of Paula White. Now, you know who Paula is, right?
Oh, I love Paula White. She is an evangelical minister, and she is the runner of the President's Evangelical Advisory Committee. And for those who don't know what that is, it's a committee where basically the evangelical Robert Jeffries of the world pray for the president, lay hands, and ask for money, because that's what they do best in prosperity gospel religion.
Well, the thing about prosperity gospel religion is it's always saying, look, you got to plant a seed, plant a seed, plant a seed. But she's trying to plant her seed in the fact that, hey, I'm behind the president, and if I say God's going to punish you, and you know that I talked to the president, that means vis-a-vis we have ways of making you be punished if you don't contribute to us. I make jokes all the time about a state media. Is Paula White secretly, on a low-key kind of way, trying to establish a state religion?
In her own mind, she doesn't have a lot. She doesn't have a lot of friends in the evangelical world, but her biggest friend is Donald Trump, and I guess that's all the friends you really need, because she's a swindler when it comes to this thing. Now, what she said on according to Newsweek, is right now, I want you to click on that button, and I want you to honor God with his first fruits offering, she said in a video shared on her website. According to Newsweek now, she encourages her followers to donate to her ministries to get blessings from God. And that is quintessential Paula White. She just wants your money, and you will bear fruit because, you're giving to her. And what she wants you to do is not just give any amount. She wants to give her their salary. Their salary or face the consequences from God, because she has that red line, kind of like the old Putin red line we used to have with Moscow, and he was in the KGB at the time. Well, now we have a God hotline with Paula White.
Oh, God, and I imagine it's like Paula White calling God, and God, folds open the statue of Vladimir Putin, a la Batman from the 1960s, picks up the phone, yes, Commissioner? The thing is that she does kind of act, and this is the problem with a lot of people in the prosperity religion sects. They kind of act as the doorkeepers to heaven, and heaven has a cover charge to them. Now, Thomas, for the uninitiated, please explain what a first fruit is to somebody in the prosperity religions.
Okay, so first fruit or any type of fruit of your financial giving is just that. If you're giving to the church, right, or in this case, Paula White, you're going to get back tenfold or whatever fold they say is the amount of money. So if you say give the January salary to Paula White, she claims that you're going to get that back because the Bible says so, and we take that literally, so I'm translating it for you, and I have a direct lifeline to God. It's like the life alert button. She just presses it, and you're in.
I don't see how that works, but this is the thing. It is kind of, at least when I talk about things that related to real world things, this prosperity religion and Paula White's take on it, like you said, doesn't make her many friends within the faith, because it comes off as a confidence scam or a con job, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. In fact, so much so that Republican Senator Charles Grassley launched a 2007 investigation into the finances of ministers that solicit money and donations, and it didn't draw firm conclusions, but it was an investigation into her. And part of the reason is because she goes after high dollar. She's like trying to get whales all the time, as opposed to grandma with the last $20. She doesn't want grandma with the last $20. She wants a whale, and she wants to be able to get the most bang for her buck and call it a religion. And this is where it turns into a scam artist, right?
Yeah, and when we're talking about scam artists, there's a couple of different, we shall call them confidence schemes that one can use. Now, the one that a lot of people get sucked into on the internet is, of course, Spanish prisoner, a.k.a. Nigerian prince, a.k.a. send me money and I will release wealth to you because you're helping out somebody in a foreign land, poor person in a foreign land. That was called the Spanish prisoner since, well, the East Indies companies was around. But this scam is kind of a different scam, or is it? Thomas, what do you think?
No, it's not. It preys on the worst things about people when people are in need the most. So if you're needing something, if you're needing favor for something, you're going to give you, whether it be a cure from a disease or a new job or anything, and you're so much in need, you're going to think, okay, this person has a line to God. I'm going to go for it because they're telling me that the fruit of my labor, if I give my last dollar, I'm going to see that back tenfold. So I'm going to give. And this is how the catch is. And the hook is what you're going to get back. So you can justify giving all that money to the person. It's sick and insidious. It's as bad as the guy who sends you an email and says, I know what you did on your computer. Send me Bitcoin money. And they may or may not know anything, but they're using that threat so you justify giving away your money. It's a different kind of threat, but it's equally insidious.
Now, here's the thing. As long as we're talking about con jobs or confidence schemes, I am going to give you the either the steps of the process of the prophecy, faith, preachers, or the steps of a confidence scam. And I want you, Thomas Reynolds, host of Some Say and one of the co-founders of FYINation.com, I want you, Thomas, to be able to tell me which I'm talking about. Now, here's the stages I'm going to give you. First, there's the foundation work, which involves making a lot of preparations, including like hiring assistants, finding a space to do it all in. Then there's the approach. That's where you actually go out and you say, hey, I've got something to tell you. You're approaching people. Then you build up, you tell the people that you're talking to, hey, not only have I got something to talk to you about, but this thing that I'm going to talk to you about will make you into a better person and promise us a better world all together. And then there is like I want to say like a small enticement, right? So this thing that started to build, they want to be in like, build up some confidence in you and stuff. So they give you like a small little gift, a little token of their appreciation, something that is infinitesimally smaller in value than the things that you've already contributed towards their cause. But they're going to give that back to you as kind of a down payment on things to come, of riches and blessings to come. Then there's going to be a big hoopla or hurrah moment where everybody is kind of, oh my God, the plan isn't going according to plan. We have to change the plan now. And oh, this changes everything. And then there's the, what I like to call the in and in. Not the in and out. That's something else. Make your parents explain it to you, kids. It's not my job. The in and in. This is where the conspirator, who's kind of, in on it, and all of the stuff that the actors, the workers and everything, this is where everybody says, okay, well, because of the crisis, we're going all in. And then they look at everybody else and it's like, are you all in too? Because we're all in. And that's where the payoff happens. Did I describe a con job or faith philosophy? Or prophecy, sorry.
You described both very accurately. It also sounds like a particular church that I don't want us getting followed by, that Leo Remini used to be in. So it evolves in a lot of ways. So this is a tried and true method, because you always have that hook, and once you have that hook, you grab the person and you use them until they're no longer leaking and they're dry. So they're a dry well. And that's what makes this so horrible, because you know the email scammers and things like that are usually one and done. But these people who preach prosperity gospel, like Paula White, she is never done. She continually makes money off of something that could be good and really help people. And somebody who is a member of a church, it really makes my skin crawl, because if I walk into a Catholic church or an Episcopal church or most normal churches, they don't ask for money. They'll send a little basket around, but they're not telling me I'm going to be damned to hell if I don't give $1,000 or even worse, my entire salary for the month, because it's the new year, like Paula White did. She's actually selling something that is completely insidious and wrong.
Now, this is the thing, because when we talk about insidious and wrong, I don't know how to tell you this, but the steps that I was just going through, those are verbatim from Wikipedia. That's how to run a con job. But you compare it to how the faith or the first fruits, or what do they call it? Prophecy. Prosperity gospel. Yeah, the prosperity gospel followers. If you look at the ways that they do things, and I'm going to take an example of somebody that I knew in the 1990s, Roger Tillman. You remember him?
Oh, yes. He's my favorite farting preacher.
Yeah, well, this is what he would do when he would go up to build his congregation. Of course, first there was the foundational work where he got a couple of other of the TV evangelists and stuff to kind of go in with him and say, hey, this Roger Tillman, he's a miracle worker, he's a good guy, blah-de, 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 blah. That was all the foundational work. Then he started approaching people and saying, come to me, and I'll heal. Send me your letters, remember? Send me your letters, and I will give you answers and things like that. And that started to build up the approach. Of course, the build-up that he was using was, give to me your first fruits. There we are again. Give to me your first fruits. Give to the God 10% and, higher through me at my church, and great things will come your way. And just to prove it, this is where he did the payoff or convincing. Just to prove it, I'm going to send you one of my specially blessed Roger Tillman Bibles. And yep. Remember the Bibles and then the blessed necklaces and stuff? And they were supposed to be worth like $50, $60, but they could have come out of a gumball machine.
Yep, or a Cracker Jack box.
Right, so that was the payoff that he would always do. And then, like, every so often, and I want to say once a financial quarter, he would come up with the big hoorah, the big hoopla, a tragedy. Oh, something is talking to me with the spirit and everything like that, and I need money now. Give me money, give me money, give me money now. And then he would have other evangelists like an Oral Roberts or a Jimmy Swaggart, the co-conspirators, come in and tell everybody, hey, Roger Tillman, he knows what he's talking about. Send your money now, and boom, everybody would split with the cash. And then the next financial quarter would roll around and the whole scheme would start over again. So when Paula White tries to use the pulpit for that type of purpose, is it any surprise that she's Trump's spiritual advisor?
No, it's actually a fitting job for her, because he is completely lacking in any type of spirituality, and so is she.
Yeah, well, now, here's the thing, because I know a lot of people are going to be listening to the show and it goes, oh, God, here's Shaggy downing something again. And please understand that I actually came from a sect of the Pentecostal church rooted in the seed, what we used to call seed faith, okay? You plant your seeds in the church, and it grows. But the thing is that you had to keep planting seeds. And then the seeds got a lot more expensive as time went on. And when you couldn't plant any more seeds anymore, the church would basically tell you that you were out of blessings. Nothing grew in my garden, plenty of seeds. So when I talk about the frustration of it, I'm just saying that it comes from a very educated place. So this is the thing, Thomas. When it comes to people like Paula White that use the pulpit and use the kind of Christian tenets, as they were, behind her to say, give unto me or God will punish thee, what does it take for them to kind of get their, shall we say, holy comeuppance?
Good question. I'm not quite sure. It's frustrating because I don't think they ever will, because it's shrouded in religion. And I think they'll just be able to take advantage of people as best they can, because there's always going to be that sucker in the room. So I don't think they're going to get anything as far as what you're hoping for, unless we have people like you and me pointing out the tragedy in all this.
Yeah, because here is the tragedy. These seed faith religions have taken from senior citizens, vulnerable senior citizens, countless of thousands of dollars. Things like, send me a $5 and I'll cure your cancer. Yeah, that used to be said on a broadcasting entity until, well, certain people stepped up and said, hey, religion is religion and freedom of speech is freedom of speech, but that is a fraudulent claim. Yeah. But the thing is that I kind of want to illustrate about all of these things is that they do have a mentality of preying on a certain weak sector of people. And when Paula White is kind of known in the circles as the top political Christian in the land, it kind of damages other members of other faiths, and even within the Christian religion itself. It kind of damages their reputation with the community as a whole, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why there are a lot of people who are legitimate, don't legitimize her. And even, ironically enough, there are some people in the prosperity gospel circles who see her as a fraud that she is, which is always strikingly weird when that happens.
Yeah, I know. It's just kind of like... well, there's this whole story in the Bible about Jesus and a whip and some thieves and temple. Yeah, go read it yourself if you're interested. Look, here's the thing. One person that has been religiously scrutinized lately, and I want to get into this story before we run out of time, has been one Elizabeth Warren. Ah, yes, Saint Warren, as it were, around my household, because my wife is absolutely in love with her, as well as a lot of other, kind of established Democrats. Now, me, I kind of float around the political spectrum of going, la-di-da-di, I want to do what I want with my vote. So I'm not really kind of sold on her. But here recently, some news came up to light that kind of makes me think, oh, Elizabeth, you shady. You know what I'm talking about, Thomas?
Yes, I do. Now, keep in mind that the story I got for you, Shaggy, came from the Free Beacon, but the only reason I brought you this hit job on her was because they used the material from her own website. So she shot herself in the foot with this article.
Okay, but let's just go ahead and be honest. When it comes to policy, Warren has been, by and large, pretty much on the good side. When it comes to presentation, Elizabeth Warren is a train wreck in slow motion that you're eating as you're dropping ice cream into your lap.
Yeah, and that's the worst part about it, because her policy is really good, but she makes so many simple mistakes that it doesn't justify going for her, to me at least. And I'll support whoever the Democratic nominee is in the long run, even if it's Elizabeth Warren. But that being said, I don't think she's good enough to run up against Donald Trump and the Trump campaign, even as bad as it is, because she is not the type of fighter. She's too much of a bookworm, and to make simple mistakes like this article is able to point out, it worries me because it only shows me, one, how cold she is and calculating, and the Free Beacon of all places doesn't take masterminds to point things out, as we talked about before on the show.
Yeah, I know, but the thing is now the hit jobs are coming from Warren, of course. Kamala Harris had her town hall, and everybody was kind of, ooh, Kamala Harris. Once again, I don't know what I'm going to do yet. It is too damned early for me to start picking people who I like. Gosh. Elections need to slow down, y'all. But the thing is that when it comes to Warren, a lot of people are kind of already figuring out the kinks in her armor. And when you have people going after a candidate this early on in the cycle, how likely are they to survive past a primary?
Well, the problem with this particular thing is it shows her blatant hypocrisy with the finances and the financial system. Because if you're going to do this, I wouldn't have done it in this way, especially since she is policy-wise, as you said, Shaggy, on the right side of it. But then she does something so dramatically different to what her policy stance is. It's almost a sucker punch to the gut. It really is, and it really frightens me when it comes to what her willingness to do is with other things. Like, for example, is she really for Medicare for all, or is she saying it because it's convenient and it's like Donald Trump's wall? It's never going to actually be done. That type of calculation worries me. I'd rather have somebody like a Bernie Sanders, who I am for, and he hasn't said he's in yet, but he is my first choice at the moment, for full disclosure. I would rather have somebody who has a track record of being for and saying and doing, as opposed to someone like in this article, the Elizabeth Warren, who has a track record of not doing as she preaches.
Yeah, and that's just it. As long as we're going to talk about things that build up confidence in politicians, being able to keep your word is kind of really high on the list. And Warren, for the most part, has been politically milquetoast. She has been kind of a bland, everyday assortment of vanilla and milk, if that was a way to conceptualize how white and bland some of her actions have been. And to be a politician, you kind of got to have a little bit more fire and spunk in you. So, I mean, imagining a debate between her and Donald Trump, it's kind of like sending now Mrs. Doubtfire to fight Hulk Hogan in one of those cage matches of the old days of the WWF.
Yeah, absolutely. And worse, to go back to the article a little bit, he only has to point to this and say, look, why don't you practice what you preach? You're yelling at me. At least I tried and went for the wall. I mean, say the wall doesn't get built. He can at least go to, look, I went and did that. Now, I'm not anyone to offer Donald Trump any advice, but I will offer Elizabeth Warren some. And I would have said to her, had she came and asked, don't do this in this damn silly way. You're doing this damn silly thing. Because for years, not pay your taxes at the higher rate in the state of Massachusetts, and then when election time rolls around, as this article is portraying it as, to pay them. And she's brilliant in the fact that she listed her taxes, but stupid in the fact that she didn't pay the rate and the higher rate to save money. I mean, you can't then go and lecture, as she does, about paying your fair share when she's not even doing it. The proof is there. And that's the easiest for even Democratic people to go after her with. Well, Elizabeth, you want people to pay this money, but you're not even doing it when you have the chance. Who are you to tell anybody else to do that? Yeah. And it's in there, you know? I mean, it doesn't have to be Donald Trump. Kamala Harris can come and take her out with that.
Well, this is the thing that kind of gets me about all of that because, and we've got like seconds to go here, is at the end of the day, Elizabeth Warren is probably going to be the person that gets herself kicked out first. Would you agree?
Yeah, and that's the sad thing about it, because as you said, Shaggy, her ideas are sound and great, but the intentions, I don't know if they're there.
Yeah. Well, until next time, everybody, make sure you check out the show Some Say with Thomas Reynolds, and, well, you can check him out here weekly on my show. Till next time, though, love you, mean it. Kate and bye. We gotta go.